Conclusion. Chapter 10 of the Marriage Covenant. We live in the last days when it is said that all but the elect are to be deceived. Marriage, in all its various applications, is certainly among those principles which have been changed, substituted or totally abandoned. Modern aberrations of marriage are different from those of the past. What has changed the marriage laws in our society? Have we strayed so far into darkness that we cannot see what is right anymore? Or, has God changed his laws and principles to accommodate modern society? This book is a compilation of sermons and writings by some of the most noble men of our generation. Surely their wisdom and experiences shed great light on what is right and what is wrong. It is evident from their words that they know what they are talking about, and theirs are not just idle words. We live in a modern generation, a different generation, a generation that has overturned and adulterated every moral law. In its marriage relationships, it is a catastrophe. Men and women are confused, disheartened and discouraged. The results are broken marriages, broken homes and broken hearts. However, over 100 years ago men and women were strong, virtuous and valiant, and their marriages endured every kind of grief and difficulty. Yet those 270 marriages were strong and lasting. They should prove to be good examples for us in our day. What would our great father Abraham have to say about our marriage systems today? This man was promised to have a posterity like the sands of the sea, because God approved of his marriage and lifestyle. We ought to listen to what he has said and also to those who have followed his example. Instead, in our messed up society, we tolerate every conceivable form of sexual immorality while we have made laws against Abraham's marriage laws. Even those who are supposed to know those laws and principles seem to be confused. For instance, Bruce R. McConkie once talked about those who lived polygamy by saying, "Those who entered this order at the Lord's command, and who kept the laws and conditions appertaining to it, have gained for themselves eternal exaltation in the highest heaven of the celestial world." Mormon Doctrine. 2nd ed. page 578. From this we surely must consider that it is the highest form of marriage, and we ought to obey its precepts. However, Bruce writes later about all those who obeyed that celestial law after the manifesto by saying, "They are living in adultery, have sold their souls to Satan, and whether their acts are based on ignorance or lust or both, they will be damned in eternity." Ibid. 1st ed. page 523. This leaves us confused. How can this form of marriage be so holy for thousands of years, up until October 5, 1890, and led people into the highest heaven of the celestial 271 world, and then on the very next day caused them to sell their souls to Satan? Then, to add confusion to confusion, he speaks of that principle coming back again by saying, "Obviously the holy practice of plural marriage will commence again after the second coming of the Son of Man and the ushering in of the millennium." Ibid. 2nd ed. page 578. The real question is, did God really revoke that high and holy law? Did God want men to abandon a law that would lead them into the highest heaven of the celestial kingdom so that they could stumble stupidly through all the whoredoms, incests, rapes, celibacy and immorality of our present generation? No one has ever seen the text of a revelation from the Lord, a "Thus saith the Lord" revelation that condemned that holy practice. We should offer a $1,000 reward to any general authority who can produce such a document. When exactly did our Heavenly Father proclaim that this exalting principle had suddenly become sinful? Presidents and other general authorities boldly continued to take plural wives and sire children by them for at least 14 years after the 1890 Manifesto, so they obviously did not esteem it to be a revelation from God. While our noble leaders strove valiantly to uphold a divine commandment even at the risk of persecution and imprisonment, many others gradually repudiated their noble, polygamous heritage until the very mention of the practice became repugnant to them. Now, 100 years later, This modern generation voluntarily blindfolds itself in a pathetic effort to hide from an eternal family pattern the new and everlasting covenant of marriage. God has not changed his irrevocable laws of marriage. If men and women want to achieve the rewards promised, and 272, abide by principles that will make them happy, they should turn from the marriage systems of Babylon and follow the counsel of his prophets and apostles.